For our next presentation, we're diving into the world of emergency response. And we've got our first collaboration of the day. Just bring up. All right, while I'm finding our slides, I'll throw a bone to my friends who, at a last gathering, forced a bunch of really bad jokes on me. So let's rip into them. What was it? I think, why do latitude, or what is it? Sorry, this is a really bad start to a joke. Why are latitude and longitude so smart? They've got so many degrees. Just like Mairead, probably. I'll give you another one. Why not? Oh God, no, let's not actually. Okay, I'll invite our first duet to the stage. We've got Rebecca Lutz and Jazz Hamilton from Fire and Emergency New Zealand.
All right. Wow. Okay, that was
Sorry
really
about that.
Cool. Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Jazz Hamilton. I'm a geospatial intelligence analyst at Fire and Emergency, GIS analyst for short. And?
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Rebecca Lutz toku ingoa. I'm a geospatial intelligence technician at Fire and Emergency. We've both been there almost 2 years.
Yeah, just clocked up 2 years, yeah.
And for me in May. So we've been here for the inception of this product that we're going to show you today.
Yep, so we're going to run through essentially the ongoing evolution of the FENZ Common Operating Platform. So, hey, the morph works. Ooh, cool. All right, so what was the demand here? Prior to the event on a Friday, it's always a Friday, we were asked to publish our live event feed out into the RUCs online platform. That was the first for us. Up until that point, our live incident feed was kept in-house on our Arc Enterprise platform. So with a lot of Red Bull and a bit of weekend work, we got essentially our ComSend live call data up into RUCs Online to share with external agencies. After seeing that, our team was like, all right, cool. Now you need to build a sort of a picture of what's going to happen with the Cyclone Gabrielle event. So we started collating a whole bunch of different data sets, data sources, some of our own, some of other agencies, to spread that internally across our organisation, but also externally to other organisations as well. About 48, 72 hours worth of work. We had the bulk of it up and running on day 0, but it really hit its stride around about day 1, day 2. So, okay, so what was that? Essentially, it's a collection of web app builder applications. So that's what we were familiar with at the time. And that was all stitched together using ArcGIS story maps, so enable users to move between those different applications. We also had to develop a relatively rushed PDF user guide, which I don't think many people read. But essentially, what was in this operating picture for the event was our live incident data that's coming in from ComSend. So those are the calls that FENZ are receiving. We've also got our wide area assessment and RDA, or rapid disaster assessment, and we'll let Rebecca talk about those elements later. We also pulled in our imagery layers as well, imagery that we had collected, but imagery that other agencies like the GNS Rapid Landslide team, going out in helicopters doing recon work, and also from the New Zealand Defence Force, helicopter photography from that as well. So that was really good, really popular, pretty hard work. But we got a pretty good outreach out there. I'll risk a show of hands now if you came across the Cyclone Gabrielle product that FENZ had made and used it.
Ooh.
Not bad.
Hey.
Okay, more than 2, ideal. So yes, no, we had pretty good outreach. A few agencies using it, of course. We had New Zealand Defence Force, NZ Police, MPI getting in there, DOC, and a myriad of others as well. So that's all good, but that was I dare say, a one-time solution. It was a picture for that particular event, which was good for the time, and it was about exposing data from multiple different environments and getting it out to partner agencies. But After that, we discovered a need to have a platform that's already up and running, pretty much already built and ready to go for the next big, national or regional event. So we conducted some, post-product reviews. Some of you who put your hands up earlier may have also replied to the survey we put out. Looking through that information from that survey, we found that imagery ended up being probably the most used element that we had, but also that our situational awareness application ended up having a whole bunch of data layers in there. And if users weren't proficient in turning layer visibility on and off, especially because the little eye icon tends to hide away sometimes, that the map view could end up being quite cluttered. So with that product feedback from this event in mind, we started developing the FENZ Common Operating Platform, which I'll let Rebecca talk to now.
Fantastic, thank you. So there were two key concepts that went into our design framework. One was that we had a segmented audience. Different audiences needed different data. The second is that our National Coordination Center has 4 large screens whenever they're stood up. And so we broke our solution down into 4 focus areas. One is the situational awareness area, which focuses on what is happening on the ground during an event. The next is our people and property focus area, which focuses on who is this happening to. Our third one is our assets and infrastructure focus area, and this is about where is our equipment, where is our resources, where could our resources be best allocated towards. And our last is the beloved imagery, which shows images of the affected areas. And these focus areas were all designed in Experience Builder. So our first focus area, situational awareness, is mainly to provide real-time live data insights into what is happening. One of them is our ALPS layer, which is GPS units attached to our appliances at fire and emergency, showing us where our appliances are by connecting to GeoEvent server. Our next one is that live incident data that's very front and center focused in this focus view. The next 2 are from our kind of mobile applications that we'll be teasing until I'll reach the slides where I'll get more into detail about them, which is our wide area assessments and our rapid disaster assessments. And lastly, we have weather stations all across the country that gather information on average rainfall over the span of 24 hours and the temperature. And all of the widgets that you see are they are connected to our map widget. So when you zoom in, they'll update information as you go. Our next focus area is people and property. So this is about the communities that have been impacted, the communities that we need to reach out to. This gives us information about the age of who's being impacted, the ethnicity makeup of who's being impacted, the languages spoken in that area, and the population count. So this has been aptly described as the social studies focus view. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. We do also have a layer showing kind of points of interest, so schools, maraes, community centers, places where people could go safely or where people need to be evacuated from. Our third focus area is under development and construction, and this focuses on the network infrastructure that exists in the impacted area and the resources around that area. So this includes things like cellular coverage, power lines, where fuel is located, and this focus area is pretty heavily dependent on external data sources. So this is my plug. If you have any data sources that you think could be useful for emergency response, please, find me, find Jez. We've got contact information at the end of this presentation as well. Reach out to us. It would be fantastic. Lastly is our imagery focus area. So this includes satellite imagery, this includes our fire and emergency drone imagery, and this includes handheld device images. So quick capture images from tablets or phones. And I was going to wax poetic on the oriented imagery widget, but we kind of had a little bit of that this morning. But it is really a powerful tool that we've been having quite a bit of fun playing around with, exploring the capability of overlapping captured area from different angles. And there's also a bit of quick post-photo editing that we can do in terms of you can sharpen an image or you can make an image brighter, which is going to be quite useful to gather that on-the-ground understanding. Here's the promised mobile suite application. So this is our wide area assessment tool. This is used using ArcGIS Quick Capture. This includes some qualitative data in terms of how badly damaged either roads or surrounding areas are. And this also includes information about the people in the area and whether they need to be evacuated or if resources need to be brought to them. This also gives our responders the ability to quickly capture photos about what they're describing. So they can, when they're going down a really damaged road, say, I'm following this road, create that line feature that's red for severe damage, and then they can take a photo of it. Very useful for us. The second phase 2 of the mobile suite application is our rapid disaster assessments. So this is actually carried out by Urban Search and Rescue. This is developed using Survey 123. It's a more in-depth survey, capturing information about what is happening to specifically buildings. I want to clarify, this is responders who are outside of the building, gathering information about the building. They're not going into the buildings to gather this information. It's just kind of a detailed, here's the severity of the damage happening to this building. They can fill out information if there are people nearby. That's something of relevance in that survey. And as they kind of enter more and more information about it, they'll get more questions relative to their answers. So that's probably the main takeaway from the rapid disaster assessment. I will say, because I just wanted to emphasize they don't go in the building, because what they do is they'll send this information to local councils, who will then send out building experts to come see if it's safe or not.
Cool. So one of the central tenets of developing a platform like this is to make sure that it's compliant with data privacy requirements. So it needs to come in underneath the Privacy Act 2020, but also the Civil Defence National Emergency Information Sharing Code 2020. Cool. So essentially that controls the types of audiences that we want to be able to view this platform. And we leverage certain elements of Esri technology to enable that. So I think one of the key ones is essentially audience segmentation. So having a sort of a tier 1 audience, they get access to the exact point information in photography. At tier 2, where they may access censored or aggregated information, and additional audience levels, perhaps one day maybe even producing public web services once we get further down the road. But we do that using the ArcGIS Online group sharing functionality, essentially building groups before an event, or adding people into groups during an event, which is a bit of admin. I prefer to do it before. And then assigning items or layers, map applications to those groups. So that's a key part of our build here. The other thing, of course, is our scale dependency, scale-dependent layer visibility. So for certain layers where we don't want people zooming into the exact location of an incident, we'll prevent visibility for that zoom scale. You can imagine there is sensitive information during emergencies. Photos are taken of people in trapped situations as well. So there is sensitive info here. Also information about medical events as well, which is also taken off the platform. Doesn't even get up there in some cases. And of course, data aggregation. So that's taking essentially, in this scenario, point information and aggregating it to a higher geography. This gives the benefit of assigning this particular geography levels of, say, damage or a count of items within it. And it also essentially hides the precise XY coordinates, which gives the Privacy Commissioner happy. All right, so what do we aggregate up towards? Well, we are aggregating towards the LINS suburbs and localities dataset, which is a bit famous for us because Fire and Emergency used to maintain that, no longer. But we continue to use it. You can see on the left here the current data sets that we're aggregating, and you can see that they've got different update frequencies. Some of those will only update the contributing data set as that changes. As things like demographics, it's not changing every day. That comes in from every census. We've got daily update frequencies, so NZ Police missing person count will get aggregated up towards a suburbs and localities. And we have our RDAs, our stuff that's out there in the field. We've got, at the moment, a 5-minute update frequency for those. So fetching those in, aggregating towards the suburbs locality, counting against, and from there, we're splitting them out into view layers. That's where we control the group layer permissions. Cool. So we're using suburbs and localities because people generally know those. Unlike mesh blocks, which have a code, or perhaps civil defence sectors, which may not be well known to the public, or indeed not currently existing. We use suburbs because the public know what they are, but also our firefighters, our staff, generally know the name of a location. It means that the incident control of the media team can articulate what's happening at a known location using the name of the place. So the data set's also out there, Creative Commons. It's used already in the addressing standard. It means that we can leverage other, columns or data elements that are already attributed to localities. So we can pull in the StatsNZ estimated populations, which is super cool. And, technical point of view, like how are we actually aggregating it? I'm not going to go long into the FME element here, because this is the user conference. But there's 3 pretty useful transformers that we're leveraging here, that point and area overlay to pick up that intersection. We've got the statistics calculation, which essentially runs the pivot, right? Because we need to count how many points are from that polygon and then produce that as an attribute that can be counted up in the web experience widgets later on. And we have our change detector, so we're not doing a truncate replace every time we publish up to ArcGIS Online. We're just pushing inserts, updates, deletes. This is all accessible and was offered using the ArcGIS data interoperability extension. So if you have that extension, very useful, it enables you to just crack into this line of work directly from ArcGIS Pro, which is super cool. Okay, so where are we at with this? We are obviously continuing to build the assets and infrastructure elements. We need to compile together some data sharing agreements and go through some legal templating, which is always nice and fun. And of course, we're socialising what we're building to everybody so that we can get interest in it and add people into our audience groups. If you've got any questions about this product, do please approach our product manager. It's Phil Woods. He's not here today, but we've chucked his email address up there, so and we'll forward any requests. But no, if you have any questions, come reach us as well, because we're obviously quite involved in the project. And for any other general queries about geospatial at foreign emergency, hit us up on Geo Support. You'll get a little Zendesk ticket reply. Yeah, that's just how we track requests. We get a lot of them coming through. So. Yeah, I think how are we going for time? We'll touch over.
A little bit over.
You got one question?
But we do also have a little bit of a story about our
foray we'll drop into this anecdote. Yeah, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, definitely. So just starting off that this is obviously not a great event for the house owners of the case of where we're going with this, and we do understand that is a serious situation. It's more the fun part of it is that it was a little bit of our foray into detectivism and using geospatial data to get there. So on the 20th of February, 2023, we saw a Stuff article basically implying that some solar panels had been ripped off of the roof of the house due to weather events. But we recognized that house from our drone imagery, and we went and found it. And we said, I think that's not the case, because the solar panels are still there after the weather events. So we actually reached out to police, and we let them know about this, and they asked us, okay, where's the address of this house? And so we went through our rapid disaster assessment, gathered data to find the address, and we couldn't find it. The house was gone. So we went back to our imagery, and we looked at it from further away, and we realized the house had nicely decided to move 620 meters very politely around all of the other buildings to land somewhere new.
Yeah, bit of mayhem for address geocoding there. So with the trying to land on the address, trying to pick up the address whilst you're standing next to the building, and naturally it just doesn't code onto anything. The house is literally moved away from its address point. Usually it's hard enough getting the address points to just stay on houses. We didn't really account for a scenario where the house moves. So, it raises a whole bunch of questions for, say, building placard data. Do you hold your building placard data with an XY coordinate, or do you hold it against the address point? What happens if the structure moves away from your address? Ooh, it's all quite weird. But we need to sort out what to do with building placard data and get that national framework for holding that in a GIS repository. So anyway, that's an interesting anecdote. We'll open the floor to very quick questions.
I think we've run a little slim on time.
Have we
Okay,
done-
we
all
could
right.
cut that, but grab us afterwards. We'll be hanging around. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Epic team, what a great duet that was. Yeah, and I know many of us in this room are very grateful, including myself, for the mahi that you do over there at FENZ, providing a lot of good value for New Zealand. Yeah, so our last full presentation before afternoon tea. We're going to continue with the theme of emergency response and